Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We hope you're refreshed and ready for our next panel. It's titled Navigating Global Markets, Doing Business Across Borders. This session will provide practical insights for businesses and entrepreneurs looking to establish operations or partnerships across India, Latin America, and the UK. Experts will explore regulatory frameworks, government agreements, and key incentives. I would like to now invite upon the dais our moderator, Mr. Parul Soni, Founder and Secretary General, ABWCI.
Thank you.
Our panelists, firstly, will be joined virtually by Mr. Hari Seshasayee, Founder, Consilium, LAC Consultants, Ms. Renu Sharma, CEO and Director, Rajwara Jewellers Private Limited. All right, we don't have Ms. Renu here today with us. We have Ms. Monika Srivastava, partner of Kaithan&Co. Please welcome. I'd like to welcome Mr. Anish Narang, CII LAC committee member. Thank you. I will now ask our moderator to take over. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is great. And thank you for coming early because, as a moderator, I want to finish this panel on time, because last panel was a bit, 10 minutes here or there, so I was feeling a bit uncomfortable. So it's now 12:34, and instructions are that I have to finish in 30 minutes or 35 minutes. Yeah, because then it should not, you should not be delayed for lunch. The lunch is great. Please don't leave without having lunch. That's important. We're earning that lunch, okay? So before we start, this panel, I am really happy that we have two great panelists with us and with great experience, both on trade, on diplomacy, and also on law, on M&A. So many things we can learn from them, and we can also extend our panel if you feel that you have to ask questions, because last panel, people came to me saying that we had questions we could ask because of the reason that, you abruptly said, okay, now the time is up and all that. So let's now start this panel. I have Monika, very, very experienced person, a lawyer, a partner from Kaithan & Company, did a lot of work. She does a lot of work on education, which is on cross-continental education, bringing universities, not-for-profits, M&A, a lot of experience on that. And also then Anish, who brings a lot of experience on business side, because from the perspective, once you are an entrepreneur, then world is for you. You can ask anything. Somebody was asking me today that what do you specialize? I says I specialize in everything. Do you want to sell grass? I can sell grass. I can sell anything. So the thing is, once you feel that you are a business person and you are an entrepreneur, you can then sky's the limit. So that's. But let's start, and this can be a fireside chat kind of a model where I don't have too many panelists as such. So coming to you, Monika, we are today since morning talking about this whole aspect about Latin America and India, UK, all that. I then included India to say South Asia, because South Asia and Latin America, if we progress in that kind of thing, but when we look at the distance, the language, all these barriers as such, we feel that a lot of trade or business is not happening. From your perspective, what do you see, the barriers, challenges, and opportunities on looking at this trade promotion, bringing more human-to-human touch, and also on the education side, I don't see many universities coming from Latin America. Because the thing is, our world is so divided with the US education and the British education that, we don't give a damn to other countries to say there's any education happening in those countries. So this is the perspective I want you to cover. And anything else which you want to cover from your practice as Kaithan & Company, as a partner, what you do and all that. And we have a mixed bag of people today. We have a delegation which has come from Latin America. We have some government officials. We have not-for-profit organizations and also impact businesses which are in the room. So you can interact, and also they would be interested to know how GBIF and this whole network can promote the business asset. So the question, I gave you the whole background and the question, and now the floor is yours.
Sure. Thanks for that, Parul. I'm going to start by talking about something that just came up in the coffee conversation outside. I think the trade on India-LatAm side has, in this particular corridor, has grown a lot, right? We saw 2022 as the outlier year. So already there are great ideas in circulation where, despite the distance and other barriers, the two sets of countries have done a lot of business together. And I think that those are great ideas, and we must acknowledge that. But I want to start with the fact that these great ideas today translate into, for example, 1/3 of India's exports on cars being to the Latin American countries. That's already happening. It's a great space. Now, look at another idea. There is a lot that India is doing on the EV side. And that is true for four-wheelers, and that's true for two-wheelers. And two-wheelers is a special space because India is sort of ahead of many other countries in terms of the innovation that's coming on that side. It is very easy when you join these dots to say, we're already exporting a lot of cars to the Latin American countries. Should we build on that idea and build some sustainability goals and maybe export some of the technology that goes into the EV, make use of maybe resources that are available on that side? And I think this joining of dots is where the thinking needs to be today. So you have some great ideas, you have strengths on either sides of these continents. And you've done some great things, but there is exploration needed of what else can be done, which builds on these strengths and which potentially comes out of our shared knowledge and shared experience across the two continents, but also then solves these problems. So I think there are easy ideas that are within our reach. Another very easy idea, and we've all talked about it on this side, and I think our friends from Latin America would find this very relatable to, it's been all over, is how much India is doing on the digital stack. We have UPI, the Unified Payments Interface, we have Aadhaar, and we started exporting it very, very actively to a number of Southeast Asian economies, sort of blurring the boundaries, right? What Parul was saying in terms of treating this as one region rather than talking about one country. Why aren't we doing this when it comes to the Latin American companies as well, or the countries as well? So I think there are ideas like that which will come out when forums like this take place, when bilateral trade negotiations happen. And those are ideas that I think are easily within reach and must be explored. The other thing I would say is that in the last 5 years, if I just look at UK and LatAm, there have been a lot of bilateral agreements, right? Trade agreements which facilitate which facilitate trade, which help businesses set up, which deal with tariffs and things like that. I think those have done well. And maybe they can be refined, maybe they can be improved, but that's got more to do with diplomatic engagement. The one thing that I feel when it comes to that kind of diplomatic engagement can be done better is having more specific thematic arrangements. And I'll give you an example. We have a trade agreement with Australia, and I'm bringing this different example intentionally.
Very relevant.
But very relevant, yes. So we have a bilateral agreement, as we do with many other countries. What we did recently, and we have it with UK, in 2022 and 2023, and this brings me to education, we signed MOUs dealing specifically with these countries on the topic of higher education. And that too is very vast, right? There are a number of problems to be solved when it comes to higher education. They focused on the problem of recognizing qualifications so that students can easily move from one country to another. There has to be a unified standard framework. They focused on creating better access because India is trying to solve the problem of so many students coming out of schools who are ready to go to college, but there aren't enough colleges. And they dealt with the problem of online education well, not the problem, the solution of online education and how it can make access better. So because they had these very specific agendas, I think the MOUs did very well. They say the proof's in the proof's in the pudding, and you look at the number of UK and Australian universities that are today running online programs or are looking to set up campuses here. So I would say that those specific bilateral arrangements is what moves the needle in a more direct, in a more impactful way, and that is something that needs to be considered. So let me pause there.
Yeah. No, great. I think, from the perspective of learning, we always talk about before COVID and after COVID, because I think COVID was the first global emergency which taught the universities to think differently. How a university like Harvard or Cambridge or Oxford or others, redefined themselves that there is a huge need for online because they can earn from online and the thought process. The second is, my question again is, when it comes to Latin America, definitely, we had the Chilean embassy representative said Chile is 13,000 kilometers away. But online, we are just seconds away. I think online, we can connect faster than sound or light or anything, as such, because both sides are human beings. And what I always say is that our human-to-human connect is very, very important. When we meet, we are like, one family. But the thing is that we are not breaking that barriers of business. For example, business from India, the startups from India are not very active in Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, or maybe in Afghanistan, which is a bit tricky. But look at Thailand, Malaysia, and all that. Why? And these startups are also not coming here because of there's only one issue which we can solve, is basically, Monika, will need your help, because on running a Chamber of Commerce, we'll need that dedicated effort to do this, is demystifying the whole trade, duties, excise, customs, because nobody is thinking that, how much trade we can increase if we really understand that there is a huge, we can make an understanding from all these countries working together that there should be, like GST, there should be one trade, in terms of rate. And you understand, you want to send, anything, this is the rate which the world is charging. There should be no Trump who is talking about, reciprocal trade or tariffs and the tariffs as such. So I'm just giving an example, and this kind of forum can really work together in those aspects as such. So now I'm coming to you, because, Anish, you're an entrepreneur. Definitely you represent CII in the committee. What do you feel as an entrepreneur is really pitching you, and you are not in a position to fly your wings to go to these countries as such? Because I'm also an entrepreneur, and we are working in 7 countries. But, it's so difficult to each country run a business. You go to Singapore, it says great, Singapore is great to operate. But every year I spend money in Singapore to run an office. So that's an example, because our friends from Latin America are here. They have aspiration for India, but it's difficult, So that's the question to you.
How do we address that?
Yes, and simplify, demystify.
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for the question. When we talk about India, India is a huge country, correct? I mean, there can never be one Indian expert, because we have, so many states, about 30 states and different languages. So penetrating any region, if you ask me, it's not that easy, correct? So when we talk about the India opportunity, yeah, there is great opportunity. India is growing really fast. But of course, you have certain hurdles when it comes to regulations, when it comes to engaging with the right partner. So I think what is important for us is to address those challenges, right? Looking into certain aspects when it comes to, depending on the industry that you're looking at. Each industry is very unique. So, I mean, I would suggest that spend some time in the country, get to know how things are done, right? Having the right partners is very important to know how the businesses are done. That's how I would start with.
Yeah. But again, the question, because for example, I'll just give you an example, like Graciela is from Argentina, she's our regional president for LatAm. She arrived in India, yesterday at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she was surrounded by these 5-6 people tapping on her head, hand, say, come, okay, I'll take you. A person who's coming for the first time, I think, we have to also communicate to our fellow Indians. Yeah, definitely there's a different strata. To see that, these people, when you say explore the country, they, as a tourist, it's so difficult, I'm just saying, And that's why in the morning panel, I was just comparing India with Italy. Italy is earning around $700 billion only from tourism. Rest aside, your defense and all that. That's why Meloni is sitting across the table with Trump, because she has money. It's Melody, it's Meloni and Modi. Right. So my thinking is that all that aspect is very, very important. So one is from the perspective of us bringing them here, giving them the exposure. And the second is, with that exposure, what are these sectors which you feel are important where we can bring in? For example, Argentinian wine. Right. Okay, but the thing is, we are putting 150% duty on that wine. Or, for example, Argentina is supplying sunflower oil, soybean oil. You have in each table, the ambassador said that in all our homes, there is Argentina. We have oil, you'll be using oil. So the whole thing, you will be laughing on that, but I'm just saying that, this can be a great, this can be great to see that, the oil has become so important, not the petroleum oil, but the oil which is the cooking oil as such. So those are sectors, Anish, if you can address those. Sorry, I'm becoming more direct now.
See, the thing is, Argentina and South America has been exporting vegetable oil for some time, the cooking oil for some time, right? India does not produce enough, so we import from Argentina and South America. And the bigger problem that we face when it comes to wines and alcohol is, of course, the duties, right? The duties are pretty high, it's over 100%. And Argentine wine companies are, of course, looking to enter the Indian market, and they have penetrated to an extent. But there's a great opportunity, right? I mean, there is a great opportunity, but then the regulations and the duties are there. So the question is, how do we overcome those challenges, right? How do we overcome those duties? And there is obviously competition. I mean, recently India has reduced the duties on
bourbon,
which has come down from 150 to 50%.
Yeah.
So see, when we talk about India and South America, again, South America is a huge continent. So if I want to break it, of course, we have a couple of treaties, which is one is India-Mercosur, right? Which is Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina.
Can you hear? Because the thing, I think the mic is the mic working? I know. I think yeah, you.
That's right. And the other alliance that is there, which is the Pacific Alliance, right? So I think some of these things need to be, of course, addressed at the political level when it comes to upgrading the Mercosur, right? The Mercosur was signed in 2009, so it's almost been 15 years. And that needs to be addressed at a political level. So that is one thing. Also, currently we are in a situation where more than the alliances and treaties, it's more one-on-one trade agreements which will take place, right? Whether it is between India, Argentina, or India, Brazil, because if you look at some of the trade agreements recently, Uruguay has signed something with China, and Mercosur is looking to sign with EU, which is going to happen. So I think that is going to be very, very important if we can have individual trade agreements between the two countries, which can take shape. Because India is a large country, we have a huge food and agri requirement and an energy requirement as well. So we will be dependent on South America to that extent, and at the same time India has great skill sets, human capital, where technology and digital is going to play a very important role. And there are Indian companies who are expanding in South America as well. You have your fintech, edtech companies, travel companies who are getting into South America. And the IT companies as well. You have your TCSs and HCLs and Wipros who have huge centers in South America. So I believe there's opportunity, but it needs to be addressed. I still think it needs to be addressed at the highest level if we really want to grow, because the regulations and the duties, they take a toll.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that easy.
And Anish,
to be
and
honest.
also, just now coming down to not 35,000 feet, to 10,000 feet, because government is doing, because the government has to earn, because there cannot be a socialist agenda where we are bringing other companies and our companies in terms of our commodities are dying. No country will do that. As Trump is doing, making the America great, I think each country is doing to say that, they want to make their country great. But there is what you spoke about on human capital, because I see there are 200 Mexican companies, in India. I think my friends who are into different businesses should also concentrate, because Indians are very, very focused on US companies, Japanese companies, British companies, but we do not focus on companies which are coming from, like Finland. How many of you know that there are more than 156 Finnish companies in India? So the thing is that we have to really come out of those things, and being a country of 5.4 million people, I'm just saying, there are countries like this where, there can be value on that. I'm just giving an example. Now let's open this house for questions, and, and if you have questions, please ask, and then we can have 60 seconds each on aspirations from this kind of a forum, and then we'll close. Okay. Anyone? Any questions?
Maybe
Yeah.
everything is clear.
Yeah. No.
Kina,
Yeah.
can I just shout?
Yeah, please.
I haven't actually come up with a question. I just knew someone had to put their hand up. So I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah. No. Very good.
Someone's got to take the hit first.
Yeah.
So my question is, there's a lot of talk about why we need to do this, what we need to change, but how do we do it?
Correct.
And I think this forum allows us to have that kind of conversation. So how do you actually make these changes? How do you collaborate across regions? So any thoughts on the specific hows?
No, that's a very good question. I was talking to someone from my first panel outside. I said, what is happening is we speak at the panel, go outside, sit in our car, go. We don't follow up. Okay. Second, we talk about aspiration, which is like government should do this. I'm sorry, I took your question saying that, giving it to panels, that will be there.
Your sound
60.
is gone.
Yeah. So I think that battery is really. So that's, take world as a family, your family, my family. When we meet with our brothers, sister, or the family, I'm sure, in terms of, I'm giving you my example, we don't sit together and see that, how should we work together and what should be the target of the family, maybe, 10 million, 20 million euros to earn in next 3 years or 5 years or whatever. I'm just saying relation-wise and all that. And now see a family in the context of a country or the world. The problem is that we always feel that somebody else should solve that problem. We don't do concrete man-to-man marking or human-to-human touch. As Graciela, Virginia, or I'm saying Jessica and all are trying to do, to say, bringing you to India to see that how this country is behaving or giving you a tough time. Okay? So that's why, relate it from the family perspective. It will be better for you to understand that our communication is not very good with each other. Yeah, I'm giving to you.
Can I share an example, and maybe that'll help? I mean, frankly, how is a very big question, right? So not easy to answer. But the example that I can think of that maybe helps answer your question is it always starts with these kind of delegations where you bring a forum together, you exchange ideas, then you take the dialogue to the government. If you look at the example of how UK and India have done this on the higher education side, there have been years of delegation. And I don't think mostly it was North American universities who were coming to the Indian government. It was actually British universities coming through various chambers and other industry bodies, approaching the government and saying, hey, we have a great education model. We are well ranked. We are some of the most credible institutions in the world. You have a large student population. The two can really help solve each other's problems. This has happened for years. And then what do you see? You have a governmental level exchange where you sign an MOU. And then as and when these problems are brought to the government says, fine, I hear you. Your problem is you don't have the ability to take money out of India because India does not have free currency convertibility. We'll solve that problem for you. We've never, ever suspended that. We suspended that for foreign universities and said, we are creating Gift City. Come here, open up, bring your money in, give students education, take your money out. No taxes, no currency convertibility issues. So I think it was a process which was over more than a couple of decades of people discussing what change is needed, taking it to the government, and then the government finally having the political will to do it, and then making it happen. The other thing that happens, other than this this governmental exchange, is that the moment two governments enter into a partnership of this kind, private capital is mobilized as well. So suddenly you're not just talking about governments coming together and saying this is our purpose and this is what we want to do. It's private companies following suit as well. And I think what both of them were earlier saying about political will is a very important point. Maybe the Indian government is not incentivized to open up the alcohol industry because maybe they want to protect the young wine industry in India, however young it may be. But there is political will on the semiconductor side. There is political will on the technology side, and we can very much get copper and lithium from the LatAm countries. So the point is to find where these puzzle pieces will fit, and then use those ideas to maximize, what you can do with your political capital.
And I can add, see, what is important to understand is if you're coming to India, is what is that the country needs? What is the requirement? We really need to understand that certain sectors will be highly regulated, and it's not easy to work in those sectors. So choose those sectors which are easily accessible, right? She was talking about critical minerals. Recently in the budget, the duties have been reduced almost to zero, right? That is one. Because there's a requirement, correct? If you look at tech, you don't have like high regulation. So use those touch points where it is easily accessible, right? Whether it is fintech, whether it's edtech, or any other technology, IT, right? And you have so many collaborations right now, by the way. A lot of these SMEs, Indian tech companies are collaborating with South American tech companies and offering service to a US or a Europe. That is something which is already happening. So one, I think for my friends here from South America is that you need to see what is that the country is really looking at. Now, if you have strengths, I understand, but then at the same time you need to look at the need of the businesses here, of the entrepreneurs here, and try addressing those challenges. If you're able to do that, and it's easily accessible, and then it can be done through these forums, right? I mean, there needs to be more interactions and more engagement. Because I tell you what, when I was in Brazil, and I was trying to, this is about 10 years back, and I was trying to get entrepreneurs into India, I know all those entrepreneurs, they have gone to China, right? Where the focus was China,
very good
right? And none of them really looked into India, as a matter of fact, right? Now, 10 years from now, I see this year, there are about 50 delegations, 50 delegations coming from Brazil, right? So you can see that change which has happened, correct? So people-to-people interaction is a must, but at the same time, because see, food and agri is a very sensitive industry in India. So you cannot suddenly change the political will also. It will not happen. You try your best, but it will not happen. Certain sectors, yes, right? But not entirely. So I think it's important to know what the requirement is. It's important to address those challenges. And more people-to-people movement. I think that is something which is important.
No, that's a great point, Anish, because the criticality, as she spoke about British education, where the need was that, we can bring that or imbibe and we can learn. What you said was very, very important from the perspective of that we have to look at the gap, that what is the gap and what can we bring. Everything we can't. So look, that's a great point to really look at from this talk. Yes. Anybody else? Any questions?
I have some suggestion on this. See, especially some of the opportunities around skilling is extremely important. See, there are organizations, there are like NSDC, ASDC and all. They are concentrating on within India only, right? So there is no dialogues happening between our country and Latin America, what is their need and how this skilling landscape could be further.
No, that's a very good point, because there is a huge need, because as you saw, the Secretary Government of India, Empowerment, Social Justice, Rajesh, he spoke about that there will be so much need on the geriatric care, looking at that there will be a huge, because as you will age, as you and I'm saying as we all age, we will be needing special care, in terms of in hospitals, in hospices, on many things. There's a need for manpower. We can definitely get robotic and all those kind of things which can be done. But what humans can do, all that. So I think that's a good point but I think just to give you the context, NSDC, this is National Skill Development Corporation, Government of India's initiative, has done a lot of MOUs with countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, in Dubai, and many others. But what is happening is today skilling is an issue where a lot of young people, I'm just saying, when I'm saying young, between 18 to 24, they do not want to learn some of these trades which are not in fashion. Everybody wants to learn IT, because when they look at ChatGPT, DeepSeek, they say, oh, we want to learn this, this will be helpful. So I think what Anish was also saying is what is जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. Whatever is visible is in vogue, in fashion. So that is those things which we have to really see and understand that these are things which will be very, very important for us to learn and to market those aspects.
I think the good news also is that exactly what you said. 4 or 5 years ago, Indian government was focusing on creating skilling bodies in India. But if you look at this year's budget announcements, they're talking about building centers of excellence where they can have international participants come in, just like it's happening in GIFT City and just like foreign universities are coming. They're saying on the skilling piece as well, let's create global expertise and global centers. So I think the question that you ask, somebody is thinking about it, somebody wants to do something about it. So there's certainly that intent and will, and I think that for now is good news.
But there is also need for creating awareness. So there is basically the entire act, awareness, communication, action, all that. I think those are things which are missing to say that there is a career in this. Sir, anything which a young person will look at from our perspective of 18 to 24, want to pursue a career. Nobody wants to pursue a job. there's a misunderstanding, misalignment between job, which is just obey the boss, and the career. Why you go and join the government? Because it gives you a clear career path. Okay, you will join as this, you will in few years, in few years, in few years. What is a job? The job is only that, okay, you will do this and finished. That's the demarcation. We are not in a position to do that. Once we, on the skilling part, if we can carve that clear path of career, a lot of people will go for skilling. You know, for example, we are making plumbers, bar vendors. What is the career path for a bar vendor? You know, he's making 3-story building, now he will do 20-story building. But we have to carve out the path. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a common example, but you know, the thing is, the example is very relevant.
Since I work with the automobile industry,
Yeah.
like today also in India, the best of the technicians are there, but there is no career path for them.
Correct.
They learn from their ustad. Ustad means
The bigger mechanic.
they start with a washer boy, learn some as a technician, learn some technicalities, but there is no career path.
Yeah. So sir, thank you. But I also wanted to introduce Mr. Mukhija. Mr. Mukhija is basically creating an ecosystem for elders, 50 plus, not 60 plus, 50 plus. Anyone who is 50 plus, he's creating an ecosystem in India where, you know, looking for their wills, legacy, planning, tourism, investment, all that. He's trying to bring everything into one umbrella to see that anyone who wants to join them and look at that ecosystem, that's what his initiative is. I thought I'll just give you that perspective as it.
I myself is very, very keen to understand what kind of ecosystem is available today in Argentina or maybe in Latin America or in US for senior citizens at large.
Correct. So that's what I thought. So I'll just close this panel. Thank you so much. I think we don't have questions. We can have these questions or have discussion at the lunchtime. But it was great talking to you, Monika and Anish. And we can have this dialogue on, and we can have this whole discussion to see how we can make a world a better place with our impactful journeys and also impactful living. And that's what we have to connect for our life to come on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll have a picture and then.
Yes, here, yes. I want a picture with you.
Yes.
Perfect. The bags are now.
I thought the flowers.
Oh, the flowers. What? That's sweet. Thank you.
I would like to thank all our panelists and the moderator for their practical insights. For businesses and entrepreneurs looking to establish operations or partnerships across India, Latin America, and the UK. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our partner, Traditional India Tours, which accompanies ECHOs and all delegations that have traveled from Latin America to India since 2017. This year too, Traditional India Tours is managing the delegation from Latin America that is present in this forum here today. We will now be breaking for lunch at the dining hall located in front of the building's main entrance. Lunch will be 30 minutes, after which we'll return to discuss the value of local and global networks in scaling impact. Later this afternoon, we'll also engage in a workshop using collective intelligence to co-create connections across 3 regions. Thank you and enjoy your lunch. We'll be seeing you back in 30 minutes exactly. Thank you.